The ocean is not just water and salt. It is a tomb that we have chosen not to open. For the last 50 years, humanity has spent trillions of dollars looking up at the silent vacuum of space, while turning our backs on what is happening just a few miles beneath our feet. Sit back and turn off the lights. What you are about to experience is not a simple collection of stories. These are 90 minutes of evidence that official science has preferred to file away under the label of unexplained. We are talking about records that defy logic, from the suspicious abandonment of deep-sea exploration by NASA in 1972 to the encounters that the United States Navy has tried to erase from its logs. Now, prepare your mind. We begin with the Bermuda Triangle incident, an object found by the military, and for reasons of national security, they decided to leave it sleeping.
Decades, the Bermuda Triangle has captured imaginations with stories of vanished planes and ships.
This is the evidence. This is the filtered, underwater photograph the Navy has kept classified for decades. It shows a probably organic entity, so vast that its true form cannot be contained within the frame. When the submersible returned this image from the Bermuda Triangle, the mission was instantly aborted. Their final entry? Just 3 words, left it sleeping. The creature's weapon is not its teeth. It's the ability to generate a colossal electromagnetic pulse, instantly silencing all electronics. This is the force that erased Flight 19. The military knows this creature is a magneto-hydrodynamic generator feeding on metal. They stopped tracking it, not out of fear of its size, but out of fear of what would happen if they woke it up and forced its feeding ground to move to a populated coast. The question is, how did this beast evolve to manipulate the Earth's magnetic field?
In those areas too.
Yeah.
But I still think there's probably something in there. There's probably something in the water.
We begin with the official explanations, the comforting lies offered to silence the public's questions. These theories fall into 3 main categories: environmental hazards, human error, and the truly baffling magnetic anomalies. The environmental hazard theory points to rogue waves, sudden shifts in weather, or the terrifying possibility of methane gas eruptions. The idea is that deep-sea clathrates, frozen pockets of methane, could suddenly destabilize and bubble up. A ship caught above such an eruption would lose buoyancy instantly and sink within seconds. This theory offers a visceral, if geological, explanation for sudden vanishings. But it is a theory that fails to account for the total absence of debris, and crucially, it offers 0 explanation for the disappearance of aircraft flying thousands of feet above the water. Next, the most common explanation: human error. Fatigue, inexperience, or sudden, catastrophic mechanical failure. This attempts to rationalize the loss of a single vessel. But this explanation crumples under the weight of the most infamous Bermuda Triangle case of all, Flight 19. On December 5, 1945, a squadron of 5 U.S. Navy torpedo bombers, Grumman TBM Avengers, took off from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. They were on a routine 3-hour navigation training exercise over the Bahamas. The squadron was led by Lieutenant Charles C. Taylor, a highly experienced pilot who had logged over 2,500 flight hours. The planes were sound. The pilots were experienced. Yet after 2 hours, radio transmissions began reporting total confusion. Taylor was heard saying, "We are entering white water. Nothing looks right. I don't know where we are." Crucially, he reported that both his compasses had failed. The sea below them, he insisted, looked wrong, describing it as unusually shallow and discolored, an observation that makes no sense over deep ocean water. The last coherent message from Flight 19 was Taylor saying, "It looks like we are completely lost. We are flying over a strange-looking ocean." And then silence. All 5 aircraft vanished simultaneously. No wreckage, no oil slick, no emergency beacon was ever found. This was not a slow sinking, it was a total erasure. The magnetic confusion theory attempts to explain the compass failures. The triangle is one of 2 places on Earth where a magnetic compass can point to true north rather than magnetic north. But veteran Navy pilots are trained for this deviation. It does not explain the loss of an entire squadron, particularly after they had already reached their target and turned back toward Florida. What force could erase 5 aircraft simultaneously, silencing all their sophisticated wartime radio equipment in an instant? For decades, this question baffled engineers and cryptographers. They searched the skies for interference and scanned the seafloor for methane deposits. But they were looking in the wrong place. The geological and human error theories then are insufficient. They attempt to reduce a colossal mystery to simple, surface-level explanations. But when common sense fails, the human mind searches for something more otherworldly. Over the decades, the sheer number of inexplicable vanishings gave rise to theories so staggering, so fantastic, that they managed to eclipse the unsettling truth. These are the narratives the authorities prefer you focus on, the wild diversions that keep the public looking everywhere but down. We must examine these colossal, non-biological claims to fully appreciate why the evidence forces us toward a living conclusion. One of the most mind-bending and scientifically potent theories to emerge from the Bermuda Triangle is the idea that the vanishings are caused by a localized temporal or spatial anomaly, specifically a miniature black hole. The concept is simple: a tear in the fabric of space-time, a region of finite space where concentrated mass is so potent that nothing can escape its gravitational pull. This theory gained traction not from fringe scientists, but from the realization of how completely the ships and planes are erased. A rogue wave leaves debris. An explosion leaves wreckage. A black hole leaves nothing. This is a concept deeply embedded in modern physics, thanks to the pioneering work of minds like Stephen Hawking. We know that black holes exist, and we understand their power. The terrifying simplicity of the theory is seductive: an invisible gravitational maw positioned either in the air or submerged in the ocean, instantly swallowing matter and sending it somewhere else. It provides a convenient, if terrifying, explanation for the total and absolute silence that follows a triangle disappearance. The vessel is not sinking, it is simply removed from our reality. However, the laws of physics, even when dealing with singularities, are rigid. If a black hole, no matter how small, existed in the Bermuda Triangle region, its effects would be catastrophic, constant, and inescapable. A black hole's gravitational pull does not discriminate. It would not only consume the occasional pleasure craft or squadron of Navy bombers, it would affect the entire surrounding geography. Every piece of maritime traffic passing within hundreds of miles would be subject to massive gravitational tidal forces. The very flow of the Gulf Stream, a powerful current that dictates the climate of the entire North Atlantic, would be visibly distorted. Light itself would bend around the singularity, creating obvious visual effects, a distortion of the horizon that no sailor could ignore. Most importantly, the Earth's orbit around the Sun would be impacted, leading to measurable gravitational anomalies across the entire globe. The disappearance of a ship is a tragedy. The collapse of global gravity is an impossibility ignored by scientific observation. Furthermore, a black hole emits powerful forms of radiation, specifically X-rays and gamma rays, as it violently tears apart the matter entering its event horizon. Satellite surveillance and high-altitude aircraft would register continuous, massive bursts of high-energy radiation emanating from the triangle. No such continuous signatures have ever been detected. The black hole theory, while a compelling exercise in theoretical physics, is simply too catastrophic, too permanent, and too globally observable to be the cause of intermittent disappearances. The Bermuda Triangle phenomenon is not random destruction. It is selective predation. If the black hole theory relies on futuristic physics, the second great diversion, the legend of Atlantis, relies on history and parapsychology. This is the theory most often embraced by those who seek a mystical, forgotten origin for the triangle's power. The foundational story of the lost continent of Atlantis comes from the dialogues of the Greek philosopher Plato, specifically Timaeus and Critias. Plato described a highly advanced civilization that was defeated by the Athenians and later vanished beneath the waves in a single day and night of catastrophic floods and earthquakes, somewhere west of the Pillars of Hercules. The location, relative to the Mediterranean, puts the legendary continent right in the vicinity of the Caribbean and the North Atlantic, the very doorstep of the Bermuda Triangle. This historical narrative was cemented into the triangle lore by the American psychic and mystic Edgar Cayce, 1877 to 1945, often referred to as the Sleeping Prophet. Cayce, during his trance readings, spoke extensively about the Atlanteans. He claimed that the Atlanteans possessed a technology far superior to our own, based on the manipulation of immense energy crystals, specifically fire crystals or Twi stones. These crystals, he claimed, were used as a primary power source, capable of harnessing and projecting concentrated directional energy. According to Cayce's readings, the Atlanteans conducted a disastrous experiment with these power crystals, perhaps overloading the system or improperly controlling the output, leading to the complete and catastrophic sinking of the island continent. But the crucial element for the triangle theory is that the primary fire crystal, or at least a network of these crystals, remains active, resting on the submerged surface of the lost city at the bottom of the Atlantic. The continuing, submerged power of these crystals, the theory suggests, causes the modern-day disturbances. The powerful, unseen energy emissions interfere with the delicate electromagnetic systems of modern ships and planes. A vessel passing over the submerged crystal network would suddenly find its compasses spinning wildly, its radio transmission silenced, and its engine ignition systems rendered useless, an electromagnetic effect mirroring the classified military reports. The vessels are not being eaten, they are being short-circuited by a residual 12,000-year-old power grid. While this theory offers a neat explanation for the EMP effect reported in Part 3, it quickly devolves into the fantastical and lacks any verifiable physical evidence. Firstly, despite decades of deep-sea exploration in the area, no city, no massive crystal, and no network of Atlantean ruins have ever been definitively mapped in the triangle. The deep-sea floor is covered in sediment, not ancient, radiating technology. Secondly, and most fatally, the source of energy required to sustain a power grid capable of disrupting modern electronics across a 500,000 square mile area for 12,000 years defies all known laws of thermodynamics. A continuous EMP emission of that magnitude would require a monumental, perpetual energy source, and the decay of such a system would be easily detectable as massive thermal or magnetic leakage. The stories of the black hole and the fire crystals, while captivating and widely publicized, serve a crucial function for those who seek to mask the truth. They divert the public's attention toward the supernatural or the theoretical impossible. They allow authorities to maintain that the cause of the disappearances is beyond our comprehension, or a natural anomaly of time and space. But the real answer is far simpler and far more terrifying because it involves something that is alive. We do not need a dimension-hopping singularity or a sunken civilization's power source to explain the disappearances. We only need to confront the reality of deep-sea gigantism. We must return to the concrete, empirical evidence of the biological entity that truly hunts the Bermuda Triangle. To understand the evidence, we must descend into the abyss, a place that holds more secrets than the surface of Mars. For years, the loudest sound ever recorded underwater was a hydrophone anomaly known only as the Bloop. Detected in 1997 by NOAA deep-sea listening arrays across the Pacific, the Bloop was an ultra-low frequency sound that lasted for about 1 minute. Its frequency characteristics and sheer amplitude were the signature of a living creature. The Bloop was far too loud to be any known marine animal, including the blue whale, the largest animal on Earth. Its source required a creature vastly larger than anything cataloged in our current zoology, a creature capable of displacing immense volumes of water to generate that energy. For years, scientists tentatively concluded it must be a non-biological phenomenon, perhaps seismic ice cracking in Antarctica. But the Bloop was just the appetizer, a global warning that something colossal was stirring in the dark. The recent discovery in the Triangle, however, is far more localized and far more sinister. It involves a deep-sea sonar anomaly, a massive, moving signature detected just miles from where Flight 19 disappeared, near the edge of the notorious Puerto Rico Trench. This anomaly was first picked up by a U.S. Navy research vessel, the USNS Grissom, conducting routine bathymetric mapping. The equipment registered a solid non-geological mass of approximately 3,000 feet in diameter, moving at speeds of up to 45 knots, an impossible speed for any known submarine or current. Scientists initially dismissed it as a geological event, perhaps a landslide or a vast pocket of dense sediment. But the subsequent data analysis revealed a movement pattern that was deliberate, intelligent, and organic. The signature exhibited intermittent periods of complete stillness, followed by sudden, violent acceleration and deep vertical movement. Geological masses do not pause. They do not accelerate. And most crucially, the signature showed signs of a profound density, a mass so concentrated that the standard sonar equations had to be recalibrated simply to process the return signal. The anomaly was behaving like a biological entity of unimaginable size, utilizing its environment to hide and hunt. We have spent years tracking deep-sea anomalies, from the shifting tectonic plates to the deadly methane gas bubbles. But those theories do not explain the most terrifying aspect of the Triangle, the silence. When a plane or ship sinks due to mechanical failure, a storm, or explosion, there is a physical footprint. There's wreckage, an oil slick, a distress signal, or an emergency locator beacon, ELB. The remains are scattered, but they are there. But in the triangle, there is nothing. The disappearance is total. Consider the loss of the USS Cyclops, a U.S. Navy collier that vanished in 1918 with 306 crew members. It was the largest loss of life in U.S. Navy history not related to combat. The Cyclops was massive, over 500 feet long. If it had sunk due to an internal explosion or a storm, massive pieces of steel, coal, and debris would have floated or been found by deep-sea trawlers. But the zone of zero return is absolute. It is a biological void. This is the first piece of empirical evidence that suggests a massive creature, a predatory entity, is consuming the evidence. The speed and density of the anomaly suggest a creature capable of attacking, killing, and completely ingesting a mid-sized vessel, leaving no detectable physical trace. The creature is not merely sinking the ships, it is sanitizing the area. This biological explanation is further supported by the way the sonar signature interacts with the environment. When the anomaly moves, seismic sensors register a massive, deep displacement of water, a form of hydrostatic shockwave. This suggests propulsion by colossal muscle groups, not propellers or jets. The creature is literally moving the water around it through sheer, organic force. The geological theories can no longer hold. A shifting tectonic plate does not emit an acoustic signal like the Bloop, nor does it move at 45 knots near the surface. We must face the terrifying conclusion: the Bermuda Triangle is not defined by physics, but by a predator. But the anomaly itself is only one part of the equation. We must now turn to the people who saw it, the people whose lives were destroyed by the briefest glimpse of the truth. Every disappearance leaves a ghost, and those ghosts whisper their stories through the testimonies of witnesses, those who narrowly escaped the triangle's gravitational pull. We cannot name them, as their identities are protected under government non-disclosure agreements, but their accounts share a disturbing, horrifying pattern. These are not isolated stories of panic. These are patterns of fear rooted in specific, shared physical details. We begin with the classified log from a military surveillance pilot, known only by the designation Viper 7. Viper 7 was conducting high-altitude surveillance in the area just east of the Bahamian Islands, near the established route of Flight 19 in the late 1990s. His mission log, partially leaked to independent researchers, describes a chilling event. He reported observing an object larger than a football field, black and featureless, moving at impossible speed just below the surface. This was not a submarine or a whale. A football field is approximately 360 feet long. He estimated the creature's minimum dimensions at over 500 feet. Viper 7 stated that as the object, the creature, began to ascend, his sophisticated surveillance equipment, designed to withstand intense electromagnetic interference, failed instantly and simultaneously. The entire electronic suite went dark, his log reads. No power, no comms, the instruments were simply dead. It wasn't a lightning strike, it was a total electromagnetic shutdown. Then a low, subsonic sound, felt not heard, vibrated the entire fuselage. It felt like the air itself was turning to cement. This testimony introduces the most critical piece of evidence linking the creature to the disappearances, the electromagnetic pulse, or EMP, effect. The instantaneous failure of Flight 19's compasses and radio, and the sudden silence from countless modern ships, suggests a creature capable of emitting a powerful, localized EMP. This pulse would instantly overload electrical systems, silence communication, and render navigation equipment useless, leaving the target helpless before the attack. We also have the chilling testimony of a lone commercial fisherman, a man who survived, though barely, the sinking of his medium-sized yacht, the Sea, which, in 2017. He describes an event that defies the laws of proportion and biology. He was sailing alone in clear weather when the yacht's engine and radio died abruptly, the EMP signature. The air went dead silent, like cotton in your ears, he recounted in his initial, frantic interview. Then, the boat stopped moving. I looked over the side, and the water was suddenly black. Not dark blue, but black, like ink spreading out from below. Then the water opened. He claims to have seen a mass of tentacles that defied the laws of proportion rising out of the water. He estimates these appendages were at least 10 feet thick at the base. They were thicker than the mast, and they weren't squid-like. They were rubbery, armored, and they had these rows of phosphorescent eyes, just glowing in the dark ink. He describes one tentacle wrapping around the Sea Witch's hull, the pressure causing the fiberglass to groan and pop. In a matter of seconds, the medium-sized yacht was dragged under, not slowly sinking, but pulled down into the abyss with crushing force. He survived only because he was on deck and managed to grab a floating piece of wreckage before the vacuum pulled him down. These are not isolated stories of panic or psychosis. These are patterns of fear, specific enough to create a horrifying composite sketch of the creature. We are talking about experienced sailors and trained military personnel who are unified in describing something immense, something black, and something that acts with predatory intent. The official narrative dismisses them as mentally unstable, suffering from pressure-induced hallucinations, or simply lying to gain notoriety. But their fear is too real, too specific, and too consistent. The crucial element that connects all their stories, from the dead compasses of Flight 19 to the silencing of the Sea Witch's engine, is the sudden, complete loss of all communication and navigation functionality. This is the biological EMP signature. This suggests a creature capable of emitting massive magnetic energy, an energy source that is a terrifying clue to its true nature. The government can explain rogue waves, but they cannot explain a creature capable of controlling the electromagnetic spectrum. But could such a creature actually exist? We must look beyond the legends and examine the realm of biological possibility. We must now move beyond conspiracy theories and firmly into the realm of biological possibility. Is a creature the size of the legendary Leviathan, or even the fictional Cthulhu biologically plausible? The answer, based on the known rules of deep-sea ecology, is a terrifying yes. Our own oceans, even in cataloged areas, hold secrets of gigantism. We have only just begun to understand the ecology of the giant squid and the colossal squid, creatures that routinely reach 40 to 50 feet in length and are believed to live in perpetual darkness. The terrifying size required to generate the bloop signal, a sound that traveled across thousands of miles of ocean, suggests that a creature of far greater size is not only possible, but is in fact necessary to explain the available acoustic data. The Bermuda Triangle's unique geography is the perfect incubator for such a titan. The triangle sits directly over some of the deepest points in the Atlantic, most notably the Puerto Rico Trench, which plunges to depths of over 8,376 meters, 27,480 feet. This is followed by the vast, unmapped Hatteras abyssal plain. These deep trenches and powerful, isolating currents provide an environment that is virtually untouched by human influence. It is a world of perpetual dark, immense pressure, and near-freezing temperatures, which leads to deep-sea gigantism. In the perpetual dark, where energy is scarce and resources are limited, creatures evolve to be massive and long-lived. This size is the ultimate defense against the few known predators and is necessary for energy storage. This creature is not a dinosaur that evolved in a shallow, sunlit sea. This is something alien, something that evolved in an environment far more ancient and isolated than the surface world. The creature we are proposing, the Leviathan, the Blob, the Silent Hunter, would have evolved an ultra-efficient metabolism, utilizing chemosynthesis or even geothermal energy near deep-sea vents for sustenance. The recent Sonar anomaly found near the site of the Cyclops' disappearance, which exhibited profound density, suggests a dense, highly metallic bioform. This is a critical hypothesis. The creature's tissue composition, perhaps utilizing metallic elements filtered from the deep-sea vents or concentrated from the water, could explain its enormous mass, and more importantly, its ability to emit a powerful EMP. A massive mobile organism with dense, mineral-rich tissues moving through the Earth's magnetic field could act as a giant, biological magnetohydrodynamic generator. It would create a localized, colossal electromagnetic field capable of interfering with compasses, magnetic interference, and inducing currents strong enough to fry the delicate electronics of ships and aircraft. It would be a naturally occurring moving dead zone, which is precisely what the pilots of Flight 19 reported. This is the creature that NASA and the military have been tracking. They did not stop looking because the anomaly vanished. They stopped because they understood what they were dealing with. The creature is not merely feeding on fish. It is utilizing the triangle as its personal, isolated feeding ground, seeing the metal hulls of ships and planes as a rare, massive source of concentrated metallic elements and energy. The pattern of disappearance is no longer random. It is a predatory pattern. The creature surfaces into the shallower zones of the triangle, uses its massive EMP to disable the vessel or aircraft, pulls it down into the deep, and returns to the safety of the trench, where its body temperature and size make it utterly undetectable by all but the most advanced and now silenced sonar. We know the evidence points to a single, gigantic answer. The environmental factors are merely the stage. The Bermuda Triangle is not an anomaly of physics. It is the hunting ground of the apex predator of the modern age. We have examined the facts, the undeniable disappearances that follow a consistent pattern, the unexplainable sonar anomalies that point to an organic mass of impossible size, and the consistent, terrified testimonies of those who got too close, all linked by the signature of an electromagnetic pulse. We rejected the theories of the black hole and the ancient crystal power grid because they are too fantastic and too permanent. While the government may insist on human error or magnetic fields, we offer a different conclusion, a conclusion drawn from the data that was suppressed. The evidence is overwhelming. We believe that creatures of immense size, capable of sinking ships and pulling planes from the sky by disabling their electronics, absolutely exist in the deep sea. The bloop, the eyewitnesses, and the sheer silence of the vanished vessels all point to a single, terrifying truth. The Bermuda Triangle is home to a creature that NASA and the military found, feared, and chose to simply leave sleeping. This is not a theory. This is the conclusion drawn from the most closely guarded data. The unknown is still thriving. The silence of the abyss is not empty, it is waiting. There is a growing debate in our community. Some believe we are tracking ancient, undiscovered biological entities, the real Leviathans mentioned in ancient texts. Others believe these are artificial, massive structures living in the abyss. I have left a pinned comment asking for your verdict. I want to see your theories below. The object found in Bermuda was a warning, but while the military chose silent monitoring, NASA took a different path. Many wonder why the most advanced agency in the world, which had the technology to map the abyss, suddenly diverted every cent toward the stars in 1972. The answer is not in the stars, but in what their satellites detected under the ice and in the deepest trenches. We move from military surveillance to total withdrawal by the world's largest agency. This is Mike DeGruy, the American documentary filmmaker who significantly expanded our understanding of the ocean's hidden wonders thanks to his groundbreaking underwater cinematography. One of DeGruy's most fascinating discoveries was the documentation of an underwater brine pool, also known as a lake within the sea. Incredibly, when they tried to dive into it, they were repelled. They didn't have the necessary density to enter. A fascinating discovery, but one that ended with Mike DeGruy being silenced. And his story isn't unique. That's why today we'll look at the reasons why NASA stopped exploring the oceans and try to answer that question. Let's begin. This is the question everyone is asking. Why did NASA stop exploring the ocean? This seemingly straightforward inquiry has given birth to countless theories, heated discussions, and a rabbit hole of speculation that goes deeper than the Mariana Trench itself. Some dismiss it as nothing more than internet folklore, while others believe there is something far more sinister lurking beneath the surface of this mystery. The claim that NASA suddenly ceased ocean exploration in 1978 is technically true only if you twist the narrative. Yes, CSAT failed that year, but NASA continued developing ocean observation satellites and contributing to marine research through other programs. The TOPEX Poseidon mission launched in 1992, the Jason series of satellites, and more recently, the PACE satellite launched in February 2024, all demonstrate NASA's ongoing commitment to studying Earth's oceans from above. But let's address the real reason you are here. You did not click on this video to hear about satellites and budget allocations. You want to know if there is any truth to the more sensational claims. Throughout this exploration, we are going to examine the most compelling theories, the strangest discoveries, and the unsettling encounters that have occurred in the deepest parts of our oceans. We will investigate the possibility that something ancient and terrifying may dwell in the abyss, something that could explain why humanity seems more interested in leaving this planet than fully exploring it. from unidentified submerged objects to creatures that should not exist according to our current understanding of biology, the ocean holds secrets that challenge our perception of reality. The mysteries of the deep sea. To understand why the ocean remains so enigmatic, we must first grasp the sheer scale and hostility of the deep sea environment. The average depth of the world's oceans is approximately 12,100 feet, but the deepest point, the Challenger Deep in the Mariana Trench, plunges to a staggering 36,000 feet below the surface. At these depths, the pressure is over 1,000 times greater than at sea level, equivalent to having 50 jumbo jets stacked on top of a person. The temperature hovers just above freezing, and sunlight cannot penetrate beyond about 3,300 feet, creating an eternal darkness that is as absolute as the void of space. These extreme conditions make deep-sea exploration extraordinarily difficult and dangerous. Specialized submersibles must be built to withstand the crushing pressure, and even the most advanced technology can fail catastrophically in these environments. The tragic implosion of the Titan submersible in June 2023, which was attempting to reach the wreck of the Titanic at a depth of 12,500 feet, serves as a grim reminder of the ocean's unforgiving nature. All 5 people aboard were killed instantly when the pressure hull failed, demonstrating that even in the 21st century, descending into the deep ocean remains one of the most perilous endeavors humans can undertake. Despite these challenges, oceanographers and marine biologists have made remarkable discoveries in recent decades. The deep ocean is not the lifeless void that scientists once believed it to be. Instead, it teems with bizarre and alien-looking creatures that have adapted to survive in conditions that would instantly kill most other forms of life. Hydrothermal vents, discovered in 1977, support entire ecosystems based not on photosynthesis, but on chemosynthesis, where bacteria convert chemicals from the Earth's interior into energy. These ecosystems exist in complete independence from the sun, raising profound questions about the nature of life and where else it might exist in the universe. Among the strangest creatures discovered in the deep sea are the giant tube worms that cluster around hydrothermal vents, some reaching lengths of 8 feet or more. There are also the anglerfish, with their bioluminescent lures dangling in front of massive jaws filled with needle-sharp teeth. The Dumbo octopus, named for its ear-like fins, flaps through the darkness at depths of up to 23,000 feet. The vampire squid, despite its terrifying name, is actually a gentle drifter that feeds on marine snow, the constant rain of organic debris that falls from the upper layers of the ocean. Each of these creatures represents millions of years of evolution in isolation, adapting to an environment so extreme that it seems more alien than familiar. But what if these known creatures are just the beginning? What if there are things down there that we have not yet documented, things that are far larger, far stranger, and far more dangerous than anything we have encountered? The ocean is vast enough to hide entire species, possibly even entire ecosystems that have never been observed by human eyes. Consider that the colossal squid, one of the largest invertebrates on Earth, was only confirmed to exist through examination of specimens found in the stomachs of sperm whales. No living adult colossal squid has ever been observed in its natural habitat. If a creature that can grow up to 46 feet in length and weigh nearly 1,500 pounds can remain hidden from us, what else might be lurking in the unexplored 95% of the ocean? This brings us to one of the most persistent and unsettling theories regarding why NASA might have chosen to focus on space rather than the ocean. Could it be that during early exploratory missions, scientists encountered something that fundamentally changed their understanding of what exists on this planet? Could they have discovered evidence of creatures so massive and so terrifying that the decision was made to keep the public in the dark? The legend of the Leviathan. Throughout human history, cultures around the world have told stories of massive sea monsters dwelling in the deepest parts of the ocean. From the Kraken of Norse mythology to the Leviathan described in ancient Hebrew texts, these legends share common themes: impossibly large creatures with the power to destroy ships, control the seas, and instill terror in the hearts of those who encounter them. For centuries, these stories were dismissed as sailors' tales, exaggerations born from fear and superstition. However, as we have explored more of the ocean, we have discovered that many of these legends may have been based on real encounters with extraordinary marine life. The Leviathan, in particular, occupies a unique place in both religious texts and maritime folklore. In the Book of Job, the Leviathan is described as a creature of such immense power that no human weapon can harm it. Its scales are described as tightly sealed shields, its breath kindles coals, and flames dart from its mouth. The text states that when it rises up, even the mighty are terrified. In Jewish mythology, the Leviathan is portrayed as a sea serpent of such colossal size that it was created by God on the 5th day of creation, and according to legend, its female counterpart was destroyed to prevent the species from multiplying, as the world could not withstand the existence of multiple Leviathans. One particularly chilling passage from the Talmud describes the size of the Leviathan through the account of Rabbi Johanan. He recounts, "Once we went in a ship and saw a fish which put his head out of the water. He had horns upon which was written, 'I am one of the meanest creatures that inhabit the sea. I am 300 miles in length, and enter this day into the jaws of the Leviathan.'" If this text is to be taken even partially literally, it suggests a creature so large that a 300-mile-long fish is considered merely a snack. The description continues to explain that the Leviathan's breath is so hot it can boil the sea, and its eyes shine so brightly they can illuminate the ocean for miles in all directions. Modern science has taught us to be skeptical of such fantastical descriptions, attributing them to allegory, metaphor, or the imaginative exaggeration of encounters with large but explainable marine animals such as whales or giant squid. However, what if these ancient accounts were not entirely fictional? What if they were attempts by people with limited scientific knowledge to describe something they genuinely witnessed, something so far outside their frame of reference that they could only describe it in mythological terms? Consider the case of the giant squid, which was relegated to the realm of myth and legend until the late 19th century, when physical evidence began washing ashore. For thousands of years, sailors reported encounters with massive tentacled beasts capable of dragging men and even entire ships beneath the waves. Scientists dismissed these accounts as fiction until specimens were finally examined and the species was confirmed to exist. Even then, it was not until 2004 that the first photographs of a living giant squid were captured in its natural habitat, and not until 2012 that the first video footage was recorded. If a creature as large as the giant squid remained hidden from science for so long, what else might be lurking undiscovered in the abyss? There is also the case of the Megalodon, a prehistoric shark that grew to lengths of up to 60 feet and possessed jaws powerful enough to crush a car. This apex predator dominated the oceans for millions of years before going extinct approximately 3.6 million years ago, according to the fossil record. Yet, there are those who believe the Megalodon may still exist in the deepest, most unexplored regions of the ocean. While mainstream science considers this highly unlikely, it is worth noting that the coelacanth, a fish believed to have been extinct for 66 million years, was discovered alive and well off the coast of South Africa in 1938. The ocean has proven time and again that it can hide impossibilities. Now, let us entertain a disturbing possibility. What if during the early days of deep-sea exploration, whether conducted by NASA, the Navy, or other government agencies, explorers encountered something that matched the descriptions of a Leviathan? What if sonar readings detected something of impossible size moving through the deepest trenches? What if submersibles came face to face with a creature so massive and so alien that it defied categorization? Would such a discovery be made public, or would it be classified to prevent mass panic? The theory goes like this. In the years following World War II and leading up to the space race, there was significant interest in exploring the ocean depths, partly for scientific reasons and partly for military advantage. The deep ocean was seen as a potential theater for submarine warfare, and understanding the environment was crucial for national security. During these early expeditions, it is theorized that explorers discovered evidence of extremely large life forms dwelling at extreme depths. These creatures, possibly resembling the mythological Leviathan, were so disturbing and so far beyond our ability to defend against that the decision was made at the highest levels of government to redirect resources away from ocean exploration and toward space. The reasoning, according to this theory, would be twofold. First, if such creatures were disturbed or provoked by continued exploration, they could pose an existential threat to coastal populations and maritime activities. Second, if these creatures were indicators of other unknown dangers lurking in the deep, it might be prudent to develop the capability to leave the planet entirely, should Earth become uninhabitable or too dangerous. This would explain the sudden and intense focus on space exploration, the development of intercontinental ballistic missiles that doubled as rocket technology, and the long-term goal of establishing human presence on other celestial bodies. Is there any evidence to support this theory? Officially, no. There are no declassified documents explicitly stating that giant sea monsters were discovered. However, there are numerous accounts of strange sonar readings, unexplained underwater sounds, and encounters with unidentified submerged objects that suggest something unusual is happening in the ocean. There are also whispered rumors within military and scientific circles of encounters that cannot be explained, discoveries that are not discussed openly, and areas of the ocean that are avoided for reasons that are never fully articulated. Unidentified submerged objects. One of the most intriguing aspects of ocean mysteries involves unidentified submerged objects, or USOs. While unidentified flying objects have captured public imagination for decades, USOs are equally perplexing and potentially more significant. These objects have been reported by credible witnesses, including naval officers, commercial fishermen, and research scientists, and they exhibit behavior that defies conventional explanation. USO reports often describe objects moving underwater at speeds that far exceed anything achievable by known human-made technology. In some cases, these objects have been tracked by military sonar, moving at velocities greater than 400 knots underwater, which is physically impossible for any submarine or torpedo currently in existence. The drag forces and engineering challenges of moving through water at such speeds are insurmountable with current technology, yet these objects have been observed doing exactly that. One of the most well-documented USO incidents occurred in 1963 when a United States Navy submarine detected an unidentified object traveling underwater at extraordinary speed. The object was tracked for several days as it moved through the ocean, occasionally diving to depths that should have crushed any known vessel. The crew reported that the object emitted strange sounds and at times seemed to be aware of the submarine's presence, altering its course to avoid detection or interception. Eventually, the object simply vanished from sonar, disappearing without explanation. More recently, in October 2021, the nuclear-powered submarine USS Connecticut collided with an unidentified submerged object while operating in the South China Sea. The collision occurred at a considerable depth, and while the Navy initially reported that the submarine struck an uncharted seamount or underwater geological feature, this explanation has been met with skepticism. The USS Connecticut is equipped with some of the most advanced sonar and navigation systems in the world, systems specifically designed to avoid such collisions. For a vessel of this technological sophistication to strike an underwater obstacle suggests either a catastrophic failure of multiple redundant systems or the presence of something that should not have been there. The incident resulted in injuries to several crew members and significant damage to the submarine's forward section. The Navy launched an investigation, but many details of the incident remain classified. What exactly did the USS Connecticut hit? Was it truly an uncharted geological feature, or did it collide with something else, something moving, something alive? The Navy has not provided a definitive answer, and the lack of transparency has only fueled speculation. These USO encounters raise disturbing questions. If these objects are not human-made, what are they? Are they advanced technology operated by unknown intelligences, whether terrestrial or extraterrestrial? Or could they be biological in nature, massive creatures moving through the ocean with capabilities that seem impossible according to our current understanding of physics and biology? There is a theory, less discussed but equally unsettling, that some USOs may actually be extremely large marine organisms, creatures so advanced in their evolution that they possess abilities we associate with technology rather than biology. Certain species of dolphins and whales use echolocation with such precision that they can effectively see through solid objects and even stun prey with focused sound waves. What if there are species in the deep ocean that have evolved even more sophisticated biological capabilities? What if these creatures can generate electromagnetic fields, manipulate water pressure around themselves to reduce drag, or even produce bioluminescence intense enough to appear as lights on sonar and visual observations? This hypothesis would explain why USOs often seem to exhibit both technological and organic characteristics. Witnesses describe them as metallic or structured, yet they move with a fluidity and adaptability that seems more biological than mechanical. They appear and disappear without warning, much like an animal hiding in its environment, rather than a machine following predetermined programming. Could it be that what we are interpreting as alien spacecraft or advanced submarines are actually encounters with life forms so beyond our experience that we lack the framework to properly identify them? If this is the case, it would represent one of the most significant discoveries in human history, and it would also present a profound challenge. How do you study a creature that is potentially more intelligent and certainly more adapted to its environment than we are to ours? How do you explore an ecosystem where you are not the apex predator, but rather a clumsy intruder? These questions may have been confronted by early ocean explorers, and the answers they found may have been so unsettling that the decision was made to focus humanity's exploratory efforts elsewhere: the underwater bases and structures. Adding another layer to the mystery are reports of unusual structures discovered on the ocean floor, structures that appear too symmetrical and organized to be natural geological formations. These discoveries have sparked theories ranging from ancient civilizations to extraterrestrial installations, and they raise the question of whether there are inhabited bases or facilities beneath the ocean that we do not understand. One of the most famous cases is the Malibu underwater structure, discovered off the coast of California, approximately 6 miles from Point Dume in Malibu. The structure was initially identified through Google Earth images and appears to be a massive oval-shaped formation measuring roughly 3 miles in length. The images show what appear to be pillars, a wide entrance, and other features that suggest intelligent design rather than natural formation. The discovery sparked immediate speculation that this could be a base for unidentified submerged objects or perhaps the remains of an ancient, advanced civilization. Some researchers, including author Robert M. Stanley, have suggested that the Malibu structure could be an ancient alien installation, possibly a portal or what some call Stargate. According to Stanley, the structure aligns with several megalithic monuments in the Malibu area and corresponds with oral legends of the Chumash people, who have stories of this region being flooded approximately 12,000 years ago. Stanley also notes reports from amateur radio operators who claim to have detected unusual radio signals emanating from the structure, signals that suggest some form of activity or technology within or around the formation. Intriguingly, after the Malibu structure gained public attention, subsequent Google Earth images showed the area had been obscured or appeared different, leading to speculation that the imagery was deliberately altered. Whether this was due to image processing updates or intentional censorship remains a matter of debate. However, it raises the question of why certain underwater areas are blurred or pixelated in satellite imagery while others are shown in high detail. The United States Geological Survey has offered a more conventional explanation, suggesting that the Malibu structure is a natural formation created by erosion and tectonic activity. According to geologists, the area is part of the continental shelf and has experienced significant geological processes, including earthquakes and underwater landslides, which could create the appearance of organized structures. However, skeptics of this explanation point out that natural processes rarely create features with the degree of symmetry and apparent design seen in the Malibu formation. Similar mysterious structures have been discovered in other parts of the world. In the Baltic Sea, a formation known as the Baltic Sea Anomaly was discovered in June 2011 by a team of Swedish treasure hunters using sonar imaging. The object measures approximately 200 feet in diameter and rests at a depth of about 300 feet on the seafloor. Sonar images reveal a disc-shaped object with what appears to be a raised center and a series of unusual features that do not resemble typical geological formations. Expeditions to the Baltic Sea Anomaly have reported strange phenomena. Divers and researchers claim that electronic equipment malfunctions when in close proximity to the object, including satellite phones, cameras, and depth gauges. These devices allegedly function normally when divers move approximately 650 feet away from the structure, but fail again when they return to the site. This has led to speculation that the object emits some form of electromagnetic interference, which would be highly unusual for a natural rock formation. Samples taken from the Baltic Sea Anomaly have been sent to various universities for analysis. While official reports state that the object is likely a natural geological formation, possibly volcanic rock or a product of glacial activity, the divers who discovered it strongly dispute this conclusion. They argue that natural formations do not cause electronic equipment to malfunction and do not exhibit the kind of symmetrical features seen in sonar imaging of the anomaly. Could these underwater structures be related to the broader mystery of ocean exploration? If there are installations or bases beneath the ocean, whether created by unknown human groups, ancient civilizations, or non-human intelligences, it would certainly explain why certain areas are avoided or why some discoveries are not widely publicized. The existence of such structures would also support the theory that the ocean holds secrets that governments and scientific institutions have chosen to keep hidden from the public. The brine pools an impossible phenomena. Beyond creatures and structures, the ocean is home to phenomena that challenge our understanding of physics and chemistry. Among the strangest are brine pools, also known as underwater lakes. These formations occur when highly concentrated salt water, denser than the surrounding seawater, accumulates in depressions on the ocean floor, creating a distinct boundary that appears as a separate body of water within the ocean itself. The late filmmaker Mike DeGruy, who tragically died in a helicopter crash in Australia in 2012, documented one such brine pool in the Gulf of Mexico while filming for the BBC series Blue Planet. The brine pool he discovered measured approximately 65 feet in diameter and was located at a depth of around 3,300 feet. What made this discovery particularly fascinating was how the brine pool appeared and behaved. DeGruy described seeing what looked like a lake with visible shorelines and gentle waves, complete with a shimmering surface that resembled the interface between water and air. The most remarkable aspect of the brine pool was its density. The concentration of salt and other minerals made the brine so dense that the submersible DeGruy was piloting could not pass through it. Instead, when they attempted to descend into the brine, the submersible literally bounced off the surface as if it were hitting a solid or semi-solid barrier. This meant that whatever lay beneath the brine pool remained completely unknown and inaccessible, at least with the technology available at the time. DeGruy was quoted describing the brine pool as one of the most incredible things he had ever seen in his career. He noted the presence of what appeared to be steam rising from a brine, though it was actually water mixing at the boundary layer, and he observed the strange ring-like formation of muscles that had contacting something that lies deeper still. There is also the disturbing possibility that brine pools are not the only impenetrable barriers in the ocean. Could there be other layers, other zones that our technology cannot access? The ocean is a three-dimensional environment with complex stratification, temperature gradients, and pressure zones. It is conceivable that there are entire regions of the ocean that remain hidden behind natural barriers we do not yet understand how to overcome. The sounds from the deep. Perhaps nothing captures the eerie mystery of the ocean quite like the unexplained sounds that have been recorded emanating from its depths. Over the decades, hydrophones, underwater microphones used for monitoring seismic activity and tracking submarines, have picked up sounds that do not match any known source. These sounds are often loud enough to be detected across thousands of miles of ocean, yet their origin remains a mystery. One of the most famous unexplained ocean sounds is known as the Bloop, recorded by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration in the summer of 1997. The Bloop was detected by sensors located over 3,000 miles apart in the Pacific Ocean, indicating that whatever produced the sound was extraordinarily large and powerful. The audio signature of the Bloop resembled the sounds made by marine mammals, but it was many times louder than any known biological source, including the largest whales. For years, the Bloop sparked speculation that it could be the vocalization of an unknown creature of immense size, possibly something akin to the legendary Leviathan. However, NOAA eventually concluded that the Bloop was most likely caused by ice quakes, the sound of large icebergs fracturing and cracking as they broke apart. While this explanation is plausible and supported by the location of the sound source near Antarctica, it has not entirely satisfied those who believe there may be more to the story. Other mysterious sounds recorded in the ocean include the upsweep, a continuous sound detected since 1991 that rises and falls in frequency, and the Julia, recorded in 1999, which lasted for approximately 15 seconds and was loud enough to be heard across the entire Pacific equatorial array. Both of these sounds remain unexplained, though theories range from volcanic activity to tectonic movements to unknown biological sources. The existence of these sounds raises a fundamental question. If the ocean can produce vocalizations or acoustic phenomena that are so loud and so unusual that we cannot identify their source, what does that tell us about how much we truly understand about the marine environment? Could there be creatures down there capable of producing sounds that dwarf anything we have documented? Could these sounds be forms of communication between organisms we have never encountered? There is also the unsettling possibility that some of these sounds are not natural at all, but are instead produced by technology or machinery of unknown origin. If there are indeed underwater bases or installations, whether built by humans or others, they would likely produce acoustic signatures as they operate. Pumps, generators, and other mechanical systems create sound, and in the ocean, sound travels much farther and more efficiently than light. Could some of the unexplained acoustic phenomena we have recorded be the operational noise of facilities we do not know exist? Before concluding, it is important to separate what we know for certain from what remains speculative. Here are the facts. NASA was founded in 1958 primarily to focus on space exploration and aeronautics. The agency has never had ocean exploration as a core mission, though it has contributed to marine science through satellite technology, remote sensing, and collaborative research projects. The claim that NASA stopped exploring the ocean in 1978 is misleading, as that is actually the year NASA launched its first oceanographic satellite, CSAT, which failed shortly after launch but provided valuable data. NOAA, not NASA, is the primary United States agency responsible for exploring and studying the ocean. NOAA operates research vessels, conducts deep-sea expeditions, and maintains monitoring systems that collect data on ocean conditions, marine life, and underwater geology. The division of responsibilities between NASA and NOAA makes organizational and practical sense given the different technical requirements and expertise needed for space and ocean exploration. The ocean does contain mysteries that remain unexplained. Over 80% of the ocean has never been mapped, explored, or even seen by human eyes. The deep sea is home to creatures that defy imagination, ecosystems that exist in conditions once thought impossible for life, and phenomena that challenge our understanding of the natural world. Continued exploration will undoubtedly reveal new species, new geological features, and perhaps new questions that we have not yet thought to ask. There have been unexplained encounters and discoveries in the ocean that remain unresolved. From USO sightings to mysterious structures to unexplained sounds, the ocean has produced its share of enigmas. Whether these phenomena have natural explanations that we have not yet discovered, or whether they represent something more extraordinary, remains an open question. The scientific method requires that we investigate these mysteries with rigor, collect evidence, and draw conclusions based on data rather than speculation. It is also true that governments and military organizations have historically classified information related to ocean activities, particularly when those activities involve naval operations, submarine technology, or strategic assets. Not all classified information involves conspiracies or cover-ups. Much of it is legitimately sensitive from a national security perspective. However, the existence of classified programs and information does create an environment where speculation can flourish, particularly when official explanations are vague or incomplete. The ocean holds its secrets tightly, but eventually, if we persist, those secrets will be revealed. And when they are, we may find that the truth is stranger, more wonderful, and more terrifying than anything we could have imagined. If NASA's withdrawal in 1972 was a strategic retreat, it was because they realized some sectors of the abyss were already occupied. But their satellites didn't just find empty water, they pinpointed a biological signature coming from the deepest scar on Earth, the Mariana Trench. While the public was told the trench was a desolate, high-pressure desert, classified thermal scans revealed a massive, unidentified organism pulsing at the very bottom. This is not just a creature, it is a sentinel of the deep, an entity that has remained hidden from human eyes for millions of years, until now.
At 600 feet, the water outside is 20 times atmospheric pressure. The temperature is within a few degrees of freezing, and we're far beyond the reach of the sunshine. So you might think in such a hostile environment there would be very few animals living. But watch this.
Another new undescribed comb jelly. Although specimens have been brought to the surface, it's only been seen alive through the windows of deep sea.
The date was January 23, 1960. While the rest of the world was looking upward, mesmerized by the burgeoning space race and the promise of the moon, two men were looking down into a darkness that had remained undisturbed for millions of years. Don Walsh, a lieutenant in the United States Navy, and Jacques Picard, a Swiss oceanographer, were sealed inside the USS Trieste, a bathyscaphe designed by Jacques' father, Auguste Picard. Their destination was the Challenger Deep, a crescent-shaped scar at the southern end of the Mariana Trench. It is a place where the water column above exerts a weight so immense that the concept of ocean ceases to be a liquid and begins to behave like a crushing, solid wall of force. The descent took nearly 5 hours. As they fell, they watched the colors of the ocean shift from a vibrant turquoise to a bruised indigo, then a charcoal gray, and finally, at around 3,000 feet, into the midnight zone the bathypelagic realm. Here, the sun is a forgotten myth. The temperature drops to near freezing, and the pressure begins its exponential climb. For Walsh and P. Carr, the world outside their 5-inch thick steel walls was becoming increasingly alien. The Trieste was essentially a heavy gasoline-filled float with a tiny, cramped pressure sphere suspended beneath it. Inside that sphere, the air grew cold and damp, and the only sound was the rhythmic hum of life support systems and the occasional, unsettling groan of metal reacting to the deepening cold. But the true terror began at 35,000 feet. They were less than 1,000 feet from the bottom when a sound like a thunderclap ripped through the silence of the cabin. It was a sharp, crystalline crack that vibrated through their very bones. One of the outer plexiglass window panes had shattered under the pressure. At that depth, the pressure is roughly 16,000 pounds per square inch. To give a visual to that number, it is the equivalent of having an entire fleet of jumbo jets stacked on top of a single person. A breach would have meant instantaneous death, not a slow drowning, but a molecular implosion. The water would have entered the cabin with the speed and force of a supersonic jet of liquid lead, vaporizing the occupants before their nervous systems could even register the pain. Yet they did not abort. They continued. When they finally touched down, kicking up a cloud of white, powdery silt that Picard described as diatomaceous ooze, they looked out into the abyss through that fractured window. What they saw should not have existed. Modern biology of the time dictated that no complex life could survive the pressure of the Hadal Zone. The sheer weight of the water was thought to be too great for calcium to stay solid or for proteins to function. And yet there it was, a flatfish, roughly a foot long, swimming calmly through the silt. It wasn't a primitive scavenger or a sightless worm. It was a complex, symmetrical vertebrate that appeared to be thriving in a pressure that should have turned its blood to ice. Walsh and Picard spent only 20 minutes at the bottom. During those 20 minutes, the logs describe a sense of being watched, not by a fish, but by something larger, something that stayed just outside the reach of their meager external lights. They reported seeing shimmering disks in the distance and shadows that moved with a speed and agility that defied the viscosity of the water at that depth. When they finally ascended, the world celebrated their bravery, but the Navy's interest in returning peaked and then suddenly, inexplicably vanished. The official reason was cost and the lack of strategic value, but the private debriefings suggested a different story. Walsh and Picard hadn't just found a new depth, they had found a warning. The crack in the window wasn't just a mechanical failure, it was a message from an environment that was fundamentally hostile to the presence of light and heat. To understand why we stopped diving, we must first confront the physics of nightmares that governs the Challenger deep. In this realm, the rules of the surface world are not just ignored, they are inverted. This is the workshop of evolution, a place where the isolation is so absolute that life has spent hundreds of millions of years diverging from the rest of the planet. While we evolved to use the sun, the inhabitants of the trench evolved to use the weight. Consider the concept of biological defiance. At the surface, our cell membranes are made of lipids that stay fluid to allow the transport of nutrients. If you take a human cell and place it in the Challenger deep, those lipids would compress until they became solid, effectively turning the cell into a brick that can no longer breathe or eat. The life Walsh saw has solved this through piezolites, specialized chemical chaperones like TMAO, trimethylamine N-oxide. These molecules act like internal scaffolding, preventing the cell from collapsing. However, the energy required to maintain this scaffolding is immense. This leads us to a terrifying realization. Anything living at the bottom of the trench is an energetic miracle. They aren't just surviving. They are high-performance machines of meat and bone, designed to resist a force that can crush titanium. This brings us to the sensory trap. In the total darkness of the abyss, eyes are an evolutionary waste of energy. Instead, the predators of the Challenger deep have turned the water itself into a sensory organ. Sound travels 4 times faster in water than in air, but in the dense, high-pressure environment of the trench, it becomes a weapon. We believe the apex predators of this region don't just hear you, they feel the electrical biosignature of your nervous system. Every time your heart beats, it sends out a minute electrical pulse. To a creature in the trench, that pulse is a beacon. You are a glowing target of heat and electricity in a world that is otherwise cold and silent. In the Challenger deep, you don't hunt by sight. You wait for the vibration. You wait for the heartbeat of a surface dweller to stumble into your territory. There is a phenomenon known as marine snow, the constant drizzle of organic material falling from the upper layers of the ocean. For decades, it was seen as a passive food source. However, recent acoustic data from autonomous landers suggests something far more sinister. The marine snow isn't just falling, it's being manipulated. There are rhythmic, low-frequency vibrations detected near the seafloor that seem to create artificial eddies, funneling this organic matter into specific depressions. It is as if something is farming the snow, using it as bait to attract smaller scavengers, which in turn attract larger prey. We are seeing evidence of a coordinated, intelligent management of resources in a place where we thought life was a desperate struggle for scraps. If you were in the Trieste and heard that window crack, knowing that 8 tons of pressure per square inch were pushing against a failing pane of glass, would you have stayed for those 20 minutes to look into the dark, or would you have demanded an immediate ascent? Tell us your choice, stay or flee. The history of the 1960 dive is often sanitized, but the physics of nightmares suggests that Walsh and Picard were lucky to escape. The water at that depth is so compressed that its density is nearly 5% higher than at the surface. It is thick, heavy, and carries sound with a terrifying clarity. When the window cracked, the sound would have been heard by every predator within a 50-mile radius. The Trieste was no longer a silent observer, it was a dinner bell. We have to ask ourselves, why did the United States government, at the height of the Cold War, a time when dominating every frontier was a matter of national survival, suddenly lose interest in the most extreme frontier on Earth? We spent billions to go to the moon, a dead rock 238,000 miles away, but we abandoned the abyss in our own backyard. The official narrative is that there was nothing there but silt and flatfish. But if you look at the classified records of the acoustic anomalies picked up by the Navy's SOSUS arrays during the 1960s and 70s, you find something different. They weren't just picking up Soviet submarines, they were picking up the bloop, the train, and other sounds that were too loud to be biological by any known standard, yet too organic to be mechanical. The physics of the deep dictate that an organism's size is limited by its ability to take in oxygen and nutrients. In the cold, high-pressure trench, metabolism slows down, leading to abyssal gigantism. We see it in isopods and squids. But what happens when that gigantism is applied to a vertebrate that has perfected the use of piezoelites? You get a predator that is effectively invisible to sonar because its body density matches the surrounding water, yet possesses the skeletal strength of an industrial press. These are the liquid armor entities, creatures that don't fight the pressure, but incorporate it into their physiology. The marine snow theory also suggests a level of environmental engineering that implies a collective intelligence. If something is organizing the debris of the ocean to feed itself, it is no longer just an animal, it is an architect. This changes the entire context of Walsh and Picard's experience. They weren't just looking at a fish, they were looking at a sentinel. The flatfish might have been the equivalent of a bird sitting on a rhinoceros's back, a small part of a much larger, much more dangerous whole. The reason we stopped diving isn't that we ran out of money. It's that we realized the Challenger Deep isn't just a hole in the ground. It's a sovereign territory. Every time we send a probe down with high-powered halogen lights, we are committing an act of aggression. In a world of shadows and electrical sensing, a 100,000 lumen light is a flashbang. It's an announcement. And as the Trieste learned in 1960, when you announce yourself to the abyss responds. The crack in the window was the first warning. The silence that followed for the next 50 years was our attempt to make sure they didn't hear us a second time. As we dive deeper into the data, we find that the physics of nightmares isn't just about the pressure on the sub, it's about the pressure on the human mind. The isolation, the realization that you are in a place where no help can ever reach you, and the knowledge that the very water around you is vibrating with the heartbeats of things that have been hunting since before the dinosaurs. This is why Chapter 1 ends not with a conclusion, but with a realization. We didn't stop diving because we found nothing. We stopped because we found everything and was looking back at us. The transition from the bathypelagic zone to the hadopelagic zone, specifically the depths exceeding 30,000 feet, is not merely a change in depth. It is a change in the fundamental laws of biology. At the surface, life is governed by the availability of sunlight and the stability of carbon-based structures. In the Challenger Deep, life is governed by the crush. To survive at 16,000 pounds per square inch, an organism cannot simply be tough. It must be a manifestation of the pressure itself. We have long hypothesized about the existence of liquid armor organisms, taxonomically unidentified entities that have moved beyond the need for calcium-based skeletal systems. In the crushing dark, calcium becomes soluble, bones literally dissolve. Therefore, the apex predators of the trench have evolved a state of matter that physicists are only beginning to understand in a laboratory setting. These creatures utilize a high-density, non-Newtonian biological fluid within their integumentary systems. This fluid, a complex chain of pressurized lipids and heavy metal proteins, behaves like a liquid when the creature is at rest, allowing for extreme flexibility and camouflage. However, the moment a kinetic force is applied, such as the impact of a submersible's robotic arm or the thruster wash of an ROV, the fluid instantly hardens into a substance with the structural integrity of a diamond lattice. This liquid armor is not just defensive, it is the most terrifying weapon in the known natural world. We believe these organisms use localized pressure differentials to hunt. By rapidly contracting specialized muscle groups, they can create a cavitation bubble in the water around them. In the hadal zone, where the water is already compressed by the weight of the entire ocean, a cavitation bubble collapse releases enough energy to melt steel. We are talking about biological entities that can implode a titanium hull by simply brushing against it. They don't need teeth, they have physics. They don't need claws, they have the 1,100 atmospheres of the Earth's crust. When we find unexplained structural failures in deep-sea equipment, spheres that have been flattened like soda cans despite being rated for the depth, we aren't looking at engineering mistakes. We are looking at the aftermath of a predatory strike. The translucent Leviathans. But the most terrifying predator isn't the one you see, it's the one the sonar can't find. This is the micro-hook that haunts every deep-sea navigator. We call them translucent Leviathans. Our current sonar technology relies on the acoustic impedance between water and a solid object. If an object is dense and hard, like a submarine or a whale's bone, the sound waves bounce back, creating a clear return. The translucent Leviathans, however, have evolved a body composition that is an exact match for the density and acoustic velocity of the surrounding hadal water. They are effectively invisible to active and passive sonar. These beings are made of a gelatinous substance so dense and so chemically complex that they are essentially liquid ghosts. They move through the trench not by swimming in the traditional sense, but by gliding through the pressure gradients. Imagine a creature 70 feet long, weighing several tons, drifting mere inches from a submersible's lights, and the sensors show nothing but empty water. They are the ultimate stealth hunters. We have recorded instances where ROVs suddenly spin out of control, or their tether cables are severed with a clean, surgical precision that defies explanation. The data shows no contact, no object, and no animal. There is only the sudden, violent realization that something massive was there, and then it was gone. The heartbeat of the abyss. This brings us to the most chilling acoustic record in the history of the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA. There is a specific frequency recorded periodically in the Challenger Deep that matches no known animal, no geological shift, and no man-made vessel. It is a rhythmic low-end pulse centered around 0.8 Hertz. It is too slow to be a motor and too deep to be a tectonic plate grinding. When we apply advanced bioacoustic modeling to this sound, the conclusion is unavoidable. It is a heartbeat. But the scale is wrong. For a heart to produce a sound wave with that much displacement in water compressed to the density of the trench, the organ itself would have to be approximately 30 to 40 feet in diameter. This implies an organism of such gargantuan proportions that it would dwarf the blue whale. We are talking about a city block-sized apex. This creature doesn't hunt by chasing. It is a stationary filter feeder that has become a permanent part of the trench's geography. It sits in the deepest silt, mimicking a rock formation or a trench wall, and simply breathes. The pulse is the sound of millions of gallons of water being pumped through a biological system designed to extract every microscopic nutrient from the marine snow. This is the heartbeat of a god, and it is a heartbeat that speeds up every time we send a vessel down. We have compared the logs. The frequency of the trench pulse increases by 15% the moment a human-occupied submersible enters the water. It isn't just a sound, it's an awareness. The trench is listening. In 2012, James Cameron, a man with more resources and passion for the deep than almost anyone in history, descended into the Challenger Deep in his custom-built deep-sea Challenger. He spent 7 years developing the technology. He was supposed to stay down for 6 hours to conduct extensive biological sampling. Instead, he surfaced early. He came back describing the bottom as a desolate desert, a wasteland where nothing moved. But the Cameron classified files, a series of leaked telemetry logs and sensor readouts that have circulated in the dark corners of the oceanographic community for years, tell a different story. The logs indicate that at 35,000 feet, Cameron's sub experienced a series of anomalous magnetic spikes. These spikes were so powerful they scrambled the digital recording arrays. Why did the cameras cut out during the most critical part of the descent? The official report says a hydraulic leak. The leaked logs suggest a high-energy interference pattern emanating from the seafloor. Furthermore, the sonar logs from the Deep-Sea Challenger show a continuous tracking event that lasted for 40 minutes. Something was following him. Something large. Something that maintained a constant distance of exactly 150 feet, just outside the range of his powerful LED lights. Why did Cameron, a man obsessed with the ocean, suddenly pivot his entire career away from deep-sea exploration? Why did he never go back? Why did he donate his multi-million-dollar sub to a museum where it could no longer be used? The strategic bridge. We are currently analyzing these leaked logs in conjunction with satellite bathymetry from the same day. The data suggests that Cameron didn't find a desert, he found a graveyard. There are patterns on the seafloor that suggest the structural remains of massive, biological megastructures, the bones of the translucent leviathans, or perhaps something even older. We are preparing a massive investigation into the Cameron classified files, coming in our next video. We believe he saw something that changed him. He didn't see a wasteland, he saw a warning. The humility of the abyss is something we have forgotten in our age of satellite mapping and GPS. We think we know the Earth, but we only know the surface. The signals we see in modern ROV footage, the flickering lights that appear in the background of NOAA live streams, the orbs that dart through the frame at 36,000 feet, aren't camera glitches. They are sophisticated bioluminescent language. We are watching a conversation we aren't invited to. The reason we stopped diving isn't because of the cost of the titanium or the risk to the pilots. It's because we realize that the Challenger Deep is not a place we can visit. It is a closed ecosystem that has existed undisturbed for 4 billion years. Every time we turn on a light down there, we aren't exploring. We are announcing our location. In a world of total darkness, light is the ultimate signal of an intruder. We have been ringing the dinner bell in a house full of monsters. The abyss isn't empty. It's just waiting for the next light to fall. This is the mantra of the few remaining deep-sea engineers who refuse to go back. They know that every descent is a gamble. The things that live in the trench have been hunting in the dark since before the first dinosaur walked the earth. They have seen us coming. They have tasted our metal. They have analyzed our sound. The next time we go down, we won't be the ones doing the observing. We will be the specimen. We will be the intruder caught in the high-pressure jaws of a world that has finally run out of patience. The Challenger Deep is not a mystery to be solved. It is a boundary to be respected. And those who cross that boundary might find that the desolate desert is actually a very crowded, very hungry room. The transition from the bathypelagic zone to the hadopelagic zone, specifically the depths exceeding 30,000 feet, is not merely a change in depth. It is a change in the fundamental laws of biology. At the surface, life is governed by the availability of sunlight and the stability of carbon-based structures. In the Challenger Deep, life is governed by the crush. To survive at 16,000 pounds per square inch, an organism cannot simply be tough. It must be a manifestation of the pressure itself. We have long hypothesized about the existence of liquid armor organisms, taxonomically unidentified entities that have moved beyond the need for calcium-based skeletal systems. In the crushing dark, calcium becomes soluble, bones literally dissolve. Therefore, the apex predators of the trench have evolved a state of matter that physicists are only beginning to understand in a laboratory setting. These creatures utilize a high-density, non-Newtonian biological fluid within their integumentary systems. This fluid, a complex chain of pressurized lipids and heavy metal proteins, behaves like a liquid when the creature is at rest, allowing for extreme flexibility and camouflage. However, the moment a kinetic force is applied, such as the impact of a submersible's robotic arm or the thruster wash of an ROV, the fluid instantly hardens into a substance with the structural integrity of a diamond lattice. The proteins involved in this liquid armor are unlike anything found in the photic zone. In a standard vertebrate, proteins like collagen provide structure, through simple cross-linking. In the hadal apex, we find piezoproteins, molecules that literally generate a massive electrical charge when compressed. This means the deeper the creature goes, the more powered its nervous system becomes. They are energized by the very weight that would kill us. This leads to the hyperpredation theory. At the very bottom of the trench, predators are faster, stronger, and more intelligent than anything on the surface because they are fueled by the weight of 7 miles of water. They do not fight the pressure. They harvest it as a metabolic battery. The translucent Leviathans and Acoustic stealth. But the most terrifying predator isn't the one you see, it's the one the sonar can't find. This is the micro-hook that haunts every deep-sea navigator. We call them translucent Leviathans. Our current sonar technology relies on the acoustic impedance between water and a solid object. If an object is dense and hard, like a submarine or a whale's bone, the sound waves bounce back, creating a clear return. The translucent Leviathans, however, have evolved the body composition that is an exact match for the density and acoustic velocity of the surrounding hadal water. They are effectively invisible to active and passive sonar. These beings are made of a gelatinous substance so dense and so chemically complex that they are essentially liquid ghosts. They move through the trench not by swimming in the traditional sense, but by gliding through the pressure gradients. Imagine a creature 70 feet long, weighing several tons, drifting mere inches from a submersible slice, and the sensors show nothing but empty water. They are the ultimate stealth hunters. We have recorded instances where ROVs suddenly spin out of control, or their tether cables are severed with a clean, surgical precision that defies explanation. The data shows no contact, no object, and no animal. There's only the sudden, violent realization that something massive was there, and then it was gone. The heartbeat of the abyss. This brings us to the most chilling acoustic record in the history of the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA. There is a specific frequency recorded periodically in the Challenger Deep that matches no known animal, no geological shift, and no man-made vessel. It is a rhythmic low-end pulse centered around 0.8 Hz. It is too slow to be a motor and too deep to be a tectonic plate grinding. When we apply advanced bioacoustic modeling to this sound, the conclusion is unavoidable. It is a heartbeat. But the scale is wrong. For a heart to produce a sound wave with that much displacement in water compressed to the density of the trench, the organ itself would have to be approximately 30 to 40 feet in diameter. This implies an organism of such gargantuan proportions that would dwarf the blue whale. We are talking about a city block-sized apex. This creature doesn't hunt by chasing. It is a stationary filter feeder that has become a permanent part of the trench's geography. It sits in the deepest silt, mimicking a rock formation or a trench wall, and simply breathes. The pulse is the sound of millions of gallons of water being pumped through a biological system designed to extract every microscopic nutrient from the marine snow. Analysis of the rattle, a similar sound originating from the Challenger Deep that lasted for 3 weeks in 1984, suggests it was the sound of a massive, silicate-based shell being pulled through the mud. The speed of the movement was calculated at 40 knots. Nothing that size should be able to move that fast at that depth. During the Cold War, the U.S. Navy's sound surveillance system, SOSUS, picked up the bloop, but they also picked up the rattle. It was the sound of something metal being dragged across the seafloor. Not a small object, something that displaced enough water to be heard in Hawaii. The Cameron Enigma and the 2012 telemetry. In 2012, James Cameron descended into the Challenger Deep in his custom-built deep-sea Challenger. He spent 7 years developing the technology. He was supposed to stay down for 6 hours to conduct extensive biological sampling. Instead, he surfaced early. He came back describing the bottom as a desolate desert, a wasteland where nothing moved. But the Cameron classified files, a series of leaked telemetry logs and sensor readouts, tell a different story. At 10:42 a.m., the deep-sea Challenger recorded a temperature spike of 4 degrees Celsius. In the hadal zone, temperature is a constant 1 to 2 degrees. A 4-degree spike indicates a massive heat source. There are no volcanic vents in the specific sector Cameron was exploring. The only explanation is biological thermogenesis, the heat produced by a massive body. The sonar at this exact moment showed a solid ceiling appearing 100 feet above the sub. Cameron was no longer under the ocean. He was under something else. The logs indicate that at 35,000 feet, Cameron's sub experienced a series of anomalous magnetic spikes. These spikes were so powerful, they scrambled the digital recording arrays. Why did the cameras cut out during the most critical part of the descent? The official report says a hydraulic leak. The leaked logs suggest a high-energy interference pattern emanating from the seafloor. Furthermore, the sonar logs show a continuous tracking event that lasted for 40 minutes. Something was following him. Something large. Something that maintained a constant distance of exactly 150 feet, just outside the range of his powerful LED lights. Why did Cameron, a man obsessed with the ocean, suddenly pivot his entire career away from deep-sea exploration? Why did he never go back? Why did he donate his multi-million-dollar sub to a museum where it could no longer be used? The data suggests that Cameron didn't find a desert, he found a graveyard. There are patterns on the seafloor that suggest the structural remains of massive, biological megastructures, the bones of the translucent Leviathans, or perhaps something even older. The Silent Navy and classified encounters. The humility of the abyss is something we have forgotten. We think we know the Earth, but we only know the surface. The signals we see in modern ROV footage, the flickering lights that appear in the background of NOAA live streams, the orbs that dart through the frame at 36,000 feet, aren't camera glitches. They are a sophisticated, bioluminescent language. We are watching a conversation we aren't invited to. The reason we stopped diving isn't because of the cost of the titanium or the risk to the pilots. It's because we realize that the Challenger Deep is not a place we can visit. It is a closed ecosystem that has existed undisturbed for 4 billion years. Every time we turn on a light down there, we aren't exploring. We are announcing our location. In a world of total darkness, light is the ultimate signal of an intruder. We have been ringing the dinner bell in a house full of monsters. The abyss isn't empty. It's just waiting for the next light to fall. This is the mantra of the few remaining deep-sea engineers who refuse to go back. They know that every descent is a gamble. The things that live in the trench have been hunting in the dark since before the first dinosaur walked the earth. They have seen us coming. They have tasted our metal. They have analyzed our sound. The next time we go down, we won't be the ones doing the observing. We will be the specimen. We will be the intruder caught in the high-pressure jaws of a world that has finally run out of patience.